I've got another one, which is pretty much, I think I know the answer to this. It says, it's from Patrick Gerard 1. Greetings, Will. Themes for Grind has never stayed far from my record player for decades. How about a part 2?
Well, Grind was done in such a sort of lo-fi way. You know, I only had a 4-track.
Right.
And what it was Bill Butt, who was our lighting man and filmmaker and everything. He was making a film called Grind, and he asked me to do the soundtrack. So I sort of just started working on it, and he'd done loads of filming, and he had his. It was in the back of a Volkswagen, and it got stolen. So all his stuff got stolen, his cameras and his film that he'd done and everything. So that was the end of that, and I'd still done all this recording. So we just sort of put it out, but it was just done on like a. You know, when I listen to it now, I don't know how the hell I did it, because I didn't know how to play keyboard. Like, I still don't know how to play keyboard. So, you know, I didn't really know anything. I just sort of did it. It's weird. And I had hardly any equipment. You know, I just had this 4-track. I didn't have no mixing desk. It was all just like plugged directly into the 4-track. And I just used to record bits and bobs and got made up, as it were. Nothing was like written, you know, I'll do this and I'll do that. You know, it was just kind of like me just jamming on a keyboard and making like sounds and things. And then it was like, it sort of became a tune or whatever. I don't know. It was.
Yeah, I think you've always been a bit. Well, to me, you have. So don't take this as an insult. You've always been a bit do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, just trying out different new techniques instead of doing it by the book.
I'm not like a technical guitar. You know, I don't know. I don't sit there playing Stairway to Heaven or whatever. I'm not interested. It doesn't. Like, I'd rather be making up my own things. You know, if I sit down with a guitar, I wouldn't know how to play, you know, Simon and Garfunkel song or anything. You know, I'd just start tootling around and making something up. And that's, to me, it's like, why would I want to play somebody else's songs?
Yeah.
It's a bit better for a start. So, you know, rather be Jimi Hendrix when you can be Willie Sargent.
No, I totally agree. So, got a question from Blarney. It says, have you got a favourite Bunnymen gig? And if so, why was it?
Been loads. There's been loads of great Bunnymen gigs. Like, the first few times we went to like America were just amazing. Like the Royal Court in Liverpool, it was like, you know, you're playing. It's like almost like you're playing in front of the cop or something. The crowd was. Barrowlands in Glasgow, legendary gigs there. They just go nuts. It's all about the crowd reaction. If the crowd reaction's great, you get into it more and you love it more. You know, it's always about the crowd for me, always.
Yeah.
And like looking down at my guitar and all that, I'm aware of, you know, the vibe in the crowd at least, you know. So it's kind of, when the crowd are into it, you're into it more, and it spurs you on more. And it's a corny thing when everybody says it, you know, in bands and groups and stuff, but that's what it is.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I agree.
It's a joint thing. It's not just, you know, it's the band and the people watching.
Do you find the crowds, do you find the audiences different from country to country?
Yeah. They're very like, you know, we don't go there so much now, but when we first went to Japan, they were very, you know, sort of quiet and kind of respectful in a weird way when you were playing. Then at the end, and then they just calm down dead quick. It's kind of like, and like Brazil has always been an amazing place for us, you know. We did a tour of South America not long back. We did like loads of like places we've never been, like Uruguay and Paraguay. Like, you think what, who's going to go and see us in Paraguay? But that was great.
I know you know
all the stuff, you know, it's mad.
I know there's been there's a new discovery of the Bunnymen at the moment with a new generation, which is fantastic. You know,
well, to me, all I ever wanted to be was like a classic band, you know, to be like in the record racks in a record shop alongside the Rolling Stones or the Doors or Led Zeppelin or, you know, whoever, you know what I mean? But to be classed as a good rock act that lasts forever, you know.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever dreamt of doing, you know. And I don't think we're quite there yet. We're not the Doors, but we are sort of getting the
You're
respect.
not far off.
I think we are getting like the respect that, you know, we should have. You know, so maybe we're getting there.
Yeah. You'll know this person. One from Mark Liptrot. And he says, it's great to see Will getting creative in the kitchen. I wondered if he's done any more painting or printmaking or any visual art recently.
Yeah, I've been doing loads of, been getting into like collage stuff, you know, and I've got some paintings on the go as well. It's just when the mood takes you, because I'm not in like, I haven't got a deadline or anything like that. It's just, yeah, I fancy doing it, and I'll go and do it, you know. And I've got loads of things that I just haven't presented or put forward, but I've been doing a lot of collage stuff. And
so when you say collage, do you mean on a canvas or?
No, like photo collage stuff, you know, like I put a couple online that I did, you know, on my Facebook. So I just got back into all the Facebook and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So that's about it. But I've been doing the Instagram thing for a while because I always put my records up, you know.
Yeah, really good.
What I really like is when you were younger and you used to make tapes for your mate, and you go, yeah, I'll listen to that, you know, and you do like a compilation tape or something. And that's why I do the Space Junk Radio thing. I like people to listen to things they might not have heard and think, oh, they're really good, you know. Like, I like that, you know, and that's why I do it. Like, there's no cash in it or anything, you know. It's just that's why I do it. And
have you been following Tim Burgess, what he's been doing?
To one of his records that he put out, it was called Tim Peaks, and it's like a compilation thing of like all stuff that he liked, I think, you know, and that was good.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
And he had on there.
Say that again.
You know, Fuel off the side of Back of Love, was it? I think it was.
You'll know better than me.
Yeah, it was, and that was a thing that was done on my 4-track Fuel in my bedroom.
God,
so came round and we just made this thing up on the 4-track. Managed to put it together, and it was when I'd had a flat with Ian Brody, and it was like the back room, and you know, he had a few things floating around, a few instruments and stuff.
So when you're doing like particularly Heaven Up Here, and you've got all the weirdness going on in the music, and then did you work around? Did Mac present the lyrics and you work around that, or did you just mash it all together?
Where on Heaven Up Here?
Yeah.
I think what we did with that was we had quite a lot of the songs organised and ready before we went in. I think there was a few things that we sort of built in the studio, and Mac probably had ideas of what he was going to sing, but we hadn't particularly heard them, you know.
Right.
So, and he's still, you know, like finessing them in the studio and stuff, you know, but it's a long time ago to remember exactly what happened, but I know it was like really exciting, and it seemed like anything was possible. Like Hugh Jones, who produced it, introduced us to like a lot of instruments that we wouldn't have thought. Like you got some bloke to come and play recorder, you know, which is, you would never, you know, on Zimbo, you'd never think, oh yeah, let's have a recorder on that one. But he came and he had like a box of all different recorders, all different sizes, and it sounds great. And he could do this weird thing, like you can bend the note, you know, by pulling your finger off slowly off the hole. I think they bend the note, so you know.
So it's like a warble.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. And Pete played a thing called a slit drum, which is like a wooden box with like slits cut in it. Where you hit it made a different sound, you know.
Right.
Just with rubber ends. It's like
fantastic.
It's all like studio techniques and reverse guitar and doing all kinds of stuff like that. We love all that stuff, you know.
So how did you get? Because one of the most famous tracks, well, of Zimbo, All My Colours, is played at WOMAD. And so how did you manage to get the Burundi boys? Was it just a case, come on?
Well, the whole idea of that festival was like for everybody to sort of mingle and integrate and kind of do things together, you know. And me and Drummond were walking around and we watched them. We watched the Burundi drummers, you know. And I said to Bill, hey, let's get them on to play with them. So we just went and asked them. And that was it. Up for it. So, and they just came on and they sold the show, really. Like, you know, they're brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. So I presume you had a bit of a rehearsal round the back.
I think, God, I can't remember. I think we might have played them the track, you know, because it's got that sort of, you know, that kind of, it's quite cool, but it's slowed down a bit, you know. That was another one that was going to be on Grind, Zimbo.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I was playing it. I had my 4-track in the rehearsal place it's called the Ministry of Sound, funnily enough, in Liverpool, like a rehearsal place. And I was doing the Grind thing, and I took me tape player down there, and you know, all the instruments that were floating around, like there was a marimba that I'd got in Paris and a few other bits and bobs. And yeah, I was just doing this Zimbo thing, like, you know, the riff, it's like a 2-notey thing.
Yeah.
And they all came in, Mac and everybody, and said, oh, what's that? I said, oh, it's for this Grind thing. And they said, oh, well, we like that sort of thing, you know. And I said, okay, well, I'll throw it into the Bunnymen pot. Pete started doing that, you know, the drumming, and it was just sort of came together really good, you know.
Fantastic. What does Zimbo mean?
Well, when he started singing it, he was singing Jimbo.
Right.
But I don't think he wanted to sing Jimbo, so he changed it to Zimbo. I think he was sort of taking the piss out of Jim Morrison a bit, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know what goes on in his head, so.
Yeah. So, someone called Dave Bradburn is asking the question that a lot of people will want an answer for. Is there a new album coming?
There is, yeah. There's another album on BMG, and it's all gone to, you know, pot, hasn't it, because of this virus thing. So who knows when it's going to happen.
So that's going to be a new an album of new material.
What?
That'll be an album of new material.
Yeah, it's all new stuff.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Blimey, if you said to you when you were a young kid that all these years later you'd be releasing new albums, I'd be pretty pleased. Well,
yeah, I don't know, I never thought of it as a sort of career or whatever, you know. It just sort of happened. I think the whole thing just sort of happened, you know. Bought a drum machine and like Brian Eno music, you know, so bought a drum machine and started playing around with a drum machine, and I liked recording things and tape recorders and was fascinated by them, you know. And that sort of led to me wanting to be in a band, and the punk thing sort of enabled you to be in a band, because all of a sudden you didn't have to be Jan Ackerman or, you know, Chris Squire or somebody and know how to play properly. So we just cobbled together a few chords, really.
So
it was very punk at the beginning, like we were sort of coming off the punk thing, really, you know. But we liked the other, like punk wasn't all, you know, like the angelic upstarts and all that sort of stuff. There was another layer to it. There was like Wire, you know, Subway Sect, people like that. You know, they were a bit more doing something a bit more different, a bit more interesting to me. Perubu, you know, people like that. Talking Heads. You couldn't really call Talking Heads punk.
No.
But they were part of that thing, you know, because they were slightly different. They went progressive rock, they went standard rock, so, you know, that's where they lived.
So did you ever play CBGBs?
No, I have been there, but it's now an art gallery.
Well, that whole area's gone a bit posh now, isn't it?
I think it was a bit heavy down there at one point, you know. But yeah, I never went when it was CBGBs. I went when it was an art gallery.
Right. Okay.